An investigation is underway in Holland into an air crash which killed 32 people on a pleasure trip. Everyone on board the vintage Dakota died after the plane ditched into the sea while trying to make an emergency landing. The pilot of the 55-year-old plane had reported engine trouble. It's the second major air crash in the Netherlands in the space of 2 months. Time now is 6:43. That's it from me this morning. Matt.
Thanks, Anne. Coming up, former England footballer Gary Stevens gives us his assessment of last night's European action.
But first, it's time for the news, weather and travel where you are.
Good morning from the Central Newsroom. Police are hunting a convicted child sex attacker who's escaped from a mental hospital. 45-year-old John Mays walked out of St Margaret's Hospital at Great Bar in Birmingham. He was sent there in 1994 after a conviction for indecency. Martin Thomas from West Midlands Police says Mays should not be approached.
My concern is that he was in St Margaret's Hospital for a very serious offence involving children, a sexual offence, and I believe he's a danger to young children. I think he's extremely violent, and the sooner we get John Mays back into the hospital, the safer it'll be for everybody.
A 10-year-old girl has died at a leisure centre. Police say she was found in the swimming pool complex at Stratford Leisure Centre, but are refusing to release any more details until the cause of death is established. The Health and Safety Executive is also carrying out an investigation. Campaigners fighting the deportation of a woman to her native Mauritius will today travel to the centre where she's being held. The woman has been in this country for 7 years. Suzanne Page reports.
Despite their protest, Prakash Chavaramutu has been taken to a detention centre in Oxfordshire. She was arrested at a police station in Birmingham when answering a bail warrant. Campaigners have spoken to Prakash, who's facing deportation.
She is not coping. She's extremely upset. She is crying half the time while on telephone.
Prakash came to Britain from Mauritius 7 years ago, but her marriage broke down. Since then, she's been living with her son from a previous marriage. The 13-year-old is now being looked after by family friends.
I think this is a very cruel and horrible world. This man, whoever made this law, must be a total idiot. He's breaking up families who've only got each other.
Prakash now hopes to get backing from the High Court next week.
The number of foreign tourists coming to the region has increased. Stratford-on-Avon remains one of the top attractions for visitors from abroad, as does Warwick Castle. They spent £468 million in the region in 1995. Birmingham also does well in the report from the British Tourist Authority. It says the city is the third most popular in Britain in terms of nights spent by foreign visitors. Football news now, and 2 results from last night. In the Coca-Cola Cup second round, second leg, Derby County were knocked out by Luton Town. The match ended 2-2, but Rams lost 3-2 on aggregate. And Leicester City beat Scarborough 2-1 and go through 4-1 on aggregate. That's the news and sport. Time for a look at the weather. This morning will start bright, although cloud will build up. That'll bring rain to most places this afternoon. Some of it could be heavy. It'll also feel cool, with temperatures up to 17 Celsius. That's 63 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, that's all for now. We're back with a news update at 7:30.
Welcome back. This morning's headlines. Police hunting a child sex offender have described John Mays as extremely dangerous and violent. He's the second paedophile to escape custody in the last 24 hours.
Sinn Féin leader Gerry Adams last night sensationally cancelled today's controversial Commons meeting with Labour MP Jeremy Corbyn.
Palestinians plan protests and strikes as they bury the 7 shot dead by Israeli troops.
Some of the biggest names in fashion will be battling for the spotlight today, just as London Fashion Week gets into full swing. A group of supermodels are officially opening their own restaurant. Naomi Campbell, Claudia Schiffer and Christy Turlington are holding a celebrity bash for their new fashion cafe tonight, an event which is attracting huge media interest. Aileen Taylor reports.
There was no sign of the supermodels on the catwalk as London Fashion Week got underway, but there was plenty of glamour. Some of the outfits may seem frivolous, but there's serious money involved. This industry is worth £6.5 billion in exports and employs 350,000 people in Britain. Last night, the Department of Trade and Industry hosted a party for the fashion world.
I think people have underestimated in the past, but as it's one of these things which we do really well, London is now vying with Paris and Milan and New York. I think it's time we proclaimed our success.
It's very exciting because everybody's excited about what's going on in London design-wise, and so there seems to be a big buzz about it at the moment, which is very exciting.
I think the world is beginning to focus on us again, which is wonderful.
If you go to New York, Milan or wherever, they're talking about London.
But the spotlight will move away from the catwalk tonight when the supermodels promise a glamorous opening for their own themed restaurant in London's West End.
I'm off there today.
Are you?
London Fashion Week.
What on earth are you doing there?
Lecturing. Thank you very much. Manchester United have put their Champions League campaign back on track with a 2-0 win over Rapid Vienna at Old Trafford. United took the lead after just 19 minutes when Ole Solskjaer tapped home Roy Keane's cross. And they clinched victory soon afterwards when David Beckham latched onto a poor back pass to score at the second attempt. The Glasgow Rangers look set for another early exit from Europe after losing the Champions League tie with Auxerre at Ibrox. Thomas Deniot headed the French champions ahead early in the second half. And he added a second from a corner to condemn Rangers to another defeat, despite a consolation goal from Paul Gascoigne. So contrasting fortunes for our Champions League hopefuls, and not surprisingly, they had very different reactions to their night's work.
I felt that we controlled most of the match for and it was just maybe a wee bit lack of subtlety in terms of finishing and a wee bit poor defending that's cost us again.
It's incredible when you play in front of 55,000. It lifts you up, and you only can be a good. Yeah, you just get better when you hear the people shouting at you, and it's incredible.
Well, in last night's Coca-Cola Cup ties, Derby County joined the Premiership casualty list. They were knocked out 3-2 on aggregate by second division Luton. Chelsea needed a late goal from John Spencer to go through after Blackpool had come back from 4-1 down to level the tie. Spurs tasted victory at White Hart Lane for the first time in 6 months, with Darren Anderton on target in the 3-0 win over Preston. And a goal by Slaven Bilic was enough to see West Ham through in the London derby with Barnet. And the draw for the third round of the competition has produced a repeat of last season's final between Leeds and Aston Villa. The other highlights: Giant Killers York face Leicester, Liverpool are at Charlton, and Manchester United meet Swindon. Well, joining us now to assess another mixed night in Europe for British clubs is the former England player Gary Stevens. Morning, Gary.
Good morning, Matt.
Well, it was good to see, after all this disaster, that Manchester United got a couple home last night.
Yeah, it puts a smile on everybody's face, doesn't it? I personally don't think that we're far behind the rest of Europe. I really don't. And you can always look at individual results and say, well, that implies that we're not good enough, or that implies that we're now back on track. But I think overall it's been a disappointing week, yeah, in particular Aston Villa.
Yeah, I mean, we'll move on to them perhaps in a moment, but United just unleashed a barrage, didn't they, on Vienna last night? And no team could have coped with that.
No, Old Trafford is a fortress anyway. Look at their record in Europe at the moment. It's superb at Old Trafford. 40 years since they've lost a game there. It's incredible. And when they go out onto the pitch, they just have this great belief that they can win. And so much of football and success in football is in your mind anyway.
Well, I wonder what is in the minds of the Rangers players this morning after last night. They couldn't have expected to lose at home to Auxerre, and yet they did. And 2 goals which really opened up the Rangers' defence.
Yeah, it's same again, isn't it? Unfortunately, you know, season in and season out, Rangers are in the Champions League, or the European Cup as it was known. And I think it's because of the level of football they play in and week out in Scotland, to be honest with you. If you look at the Scottish League at the moment, 6 games played, they're 2 points ahead of their nearest rivals, then they're 7 points ahead of the team that's third. You know, they're on their way to winning the league already after 6 games, and I just don't think they get the regular competition up there they need.
Well, that was the point I was going to make to you. You've already made it. There was some talk they were going to play friendlies with top European teams just to try and get themselves up to scratch.
Yeah. No, friendlies don't count. You know, there's only one thing that matters, and that's competition games, and you can't simulate or stimulate that type of situation. You really can't. You have to play in good quality competition week in and week out.
Well, moving on to Arsenal, most pundits had ruled them out because they were 3-2 down going to Borussia Mönchengladbach. Who's the most popular man in Borussia Mönchengladbach? The bloke on the terraces who goes, give us a beat.
Exactly, yeah.
Never mind, it's wasted 35 useless seconds. But Paul Merson almost put a smile on their faces.
Yeah, I thought it was a great performance from Arsenal, I really did. Great strike from Merson, talented player. Will he be in the England squad? I think there's every chance that he will be, in actual fact, when Glenn Hoddle names it later today. I think the future looks very bright for Arsenal, I really do, with Wenger taking over almost immediately now. Disappointing that another English club has gone out, but I think they showed that they can compete at that level, and it was down to organisation.
But you don't share the same optimism for Aston Villa after their disappearance?
No, I thought they were very disappointing. Aston Villa are a lot better than that. They're playing a team of part-timers, and in the end they resorted to basically hoofing it forward. They stuck a centre-half on, and they tried to just hit him for the last 20 minutes. That's not the way to break down a compact defence. It's really not. You need some more imagination and some more flair. And for me, that was the most disappointing performance of the week.
To go back to United and to close with United, the big game at Old Trafford is when Juventus turn up. I think it's in November. Can you see them doing Juventus at home?
Yeah, I can see them getting a point. I think Manchester United undoubtedly will qualify from their group, albeit in second place.
All right, Gary Stevens, thanks a lot for joining us this morning, and we'll see you soon. Well, that's about all from the News Hour for this morning. We'll be back at 6 o'clock tomorrow when we'll be looking ahead to the weekend sport and the top movie releases to hit the cinema.
Sally's here with the weather after the break, and still to come this morning. The Home Secretary tells GMTV of the government plans to crack down on stalkers after a number of high-profile cases.
When non-serious arthritic conditions cause you pain, Smooth On Movilat Relief. Soothe away pain.
If you're looking for new frames, where can you choose from hundreds and hundreds at half price at Boots Opticians?
Is your dog getting all the nutrition he needs? Are you giving him an ideal combination of meat protein, fats and carbohydrates? Help your dog make the nutrition breakthrough with Eukanuba, a complete food rich in meat protein, carefully balanced to meet your dog's needs. Eukanuba is found only at pet stores and other specialist outlets. Eukanuba helps your dog break the nutrition barrier.
Showers there, wash basins there, bidets in the south, aha! Plumbers, there and there. GMTV Weather is sponsored by Free Pages.
Hello there, welcome back. Well, Thursday and very autumnal weather, I'm afraid to say. Lots of showers and lots of wind around, but the saving grace is at least, because the low pressure is sitting out to the northwest, the winds that are coming up are southerly, so they are fairly warm. Now you can see on the Europe picture there, a huge band of cloud whistling in from the west, going to be covering the whole of the UK, giving them a bit of a bashing. Us, I mean. Meanwhile, though, down across Italy, look at the horrendous weather they've got. Clouds sitting over them and horrendous rainstorms as well. So I'm afraid not looking good for very many people at all. And there's not even any snow falling in the Alps. So no good news anywhere, I'm afraid. But if we take a look at the chart, we can see exactly what's going on. Area of low pressure sitting out to the northwest of the UK. This cloud wrapped around it and it's moving very quickly eastwards, and there's another one behind which is going to be moving in for the weekend, giving rain to all parts and a lot of wind as well. Let's take a look at the radar picture and see where the rain is at the moment. Now that doesn't look too horrendous, but you can see where the red and yellow markings are there on the radar picture. That's the heaviest of the rain. It's not going to be causing flooding, but it is certainly falling very heavily at the moment. It's going to be spreading right across the southern half of the UK, but everywhere waking up to showers this morning, apart from across the southeast. If we take a look at this morning's picture, you can see over in the southeast, the problem isn't rain, it's mist and fog. But as soon as those winds pick up and temperatures start to rise, that will move away and break up, allowing a little bit of sunshine. But don't get excited, because all the rain that's sitting over in the west is going to be moving over to the east very, very quickly indeed, allowing things to brighten up slightly down in the southern half of Ireland and western parts of England later on. So, in a word, horrible. Let's take a look at the temperatures. You can see a high of 19 down across the southeast, but in those very strong winds gusting to gale force in places, it's going to feel even cooler than that. And the next couple of days look exactly the same. Rain, rain, and more rain, and just the old flash of lightning. Here's the summary.
If you would like more detailed information about the weather in your area for today and the next 4 days, call 0336 40 40 40. watching GMTV with Eamon Holmes and Anthea Turner.
Hello, how are you this morning? 2 minutes to 7 o'clock, Thursday, September the 26th, and a nice day it is.
Yes.
The week's nearly over. Right.
What happened last night? Shall we get this over and done with now?
No.
Is there a match or something last night?
No, the nation is uplifted today
right.
because our representatives in the Champions League picked up full maximum points last night, and that's the main thing, that's the point. Hear that news and rejoice. On today's programme, will we ever stop the stalkers? Dental nurse Perry Southall was terrorised by a violent stalker for 8 months before he was locked up. So when will the government listen to calls for anti-stalking legislation? Find out when we speak to the Home Secretary, Michael Howard, live here in the studio in 10 minutes' time.
And move over Claudia Schiffer and Naomi Campbell. We meet the new supermodel who's taking the music and fashion world by storm at the age of, yes, 89.
And are doctors helping people to fight the flab? A new report out today says GPs could do more to help the overweight. We'll find out exactly what in 40 minutes' time. Okay, those are the items to come in this hour of the programme. But now for a roundup of the main news stories of the day, here's Jo Shelley. Good morning, Jo.
Thank you. Good morning. 2 convicted child sex offenders are being hunted by police this morning after they absconded in separate incidents. West Midlands police have warned the public not to approach John Mays. The 45-year-old is described as extremely dangerous and is said to pose a serious threat to children. The other man, Steve Daggett, was being prepared for release when he went missing on a rehabilitation trip to Liverpool city centre. He's not considered dangerous. Our correspondent Sonia Legg is outside St Margaret's Mental Hospital in Birmingham. Good morning, Sonia.
Yes, good morning, Jo. John Mays has been a patient here since 1994 when he was sentenced to under a hospital order by Stafford Crown Court for indecency with a child. Now, what happened today is that apparently shortly before 9:30 there was a dispute between John Mays and members of staff, and he literally walked out. Now, this isn't a prison. There are some security measures. There's a barrier on the entrance and there are some guards at the gatehouse, but there's no high barbed wire fences and no high walls, and he was simply able to walk